What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Common Sense Living, the show where we discuss financial and economic trends, gold and silver, and business topics. So, today in this episode, I want to talk about upcoming de-dollarization, a really popular story in the news this week, and why we need to be concerned about it. And for me personally, I have a different take on this. I have a theory about what's kind of going on right now. And so, let me explain that. So my theory on this is that a lot of our leaders, they know what's going on, and by leaders I mean politicians, the Fed. But I think that there's this effort being made right now to keep this out of the press because they may need to go to war or do something drastic and go into a country, intimidate them if another country starts to begin to think about getting off dollars using something else um, for trade. And right now, I see so many of our leaders. They're continuing to talk about different situations, different scenarios, different topics. They're not really talking. This is not really getting enough attention. Um, and maybe they're aware of it. Maybe they're just pretending like they don't know. And again, this is certainly not everyone that I'm seeing in Congress and the Senate, but it's definitely quite a number of people. Now, like many of you, I've been hearing about this for a long time. I've been hearing about the BRICS for a long time on all sorts of alternative financial channels and magazines and journals. Um, but like you, I still have questions about what we're going to do. So what's the plan here? Are we planning for this at all? Are we sweeping it under the rug? There's no talk in terms of what we can possibly do. Are we just planning on going in and just using our military force, intimidating a country that thinks of joining the BRICS? Um, See, in my opinion, we need to start coming up with strategies. We need to start building alliances, and not just with people in Western Europe, but outside of there, so we can start planning for this and start thinking about what we're going to be doing. Um, Now, we've already messed things up a lot. Some people are going to say it's point past the point of no return, and for me, I don't think it's quite. I think we're almost there, but I think that it's very very close. And if it keeps this route, it's going to come a lot sooner than we've expected. And if it does come, it's going to be very bad. It's going to lead to very high inflation, hyperinflation, and that's one thing that's definitely very scary in terms of what could happen in this country. And comment below whether you think we're past the point of no return um, in terms of the US being the world reserve currency. If it's just too late, these countries have left. I certainly can see the argument for that. But we definitely have a shot at least keeping the the reserve currency for the for us and Canada and Western Europe. Now, we just saw a few days ago Brazil and China they struck a deal outside U.S. dollars. We've been seeing these talks go on for forever for different countries. Um, Brazil, it's the world's fifth largest economy, and now China is the leading trading partner with them. Used to be the U.S., but now it's China. So basically, what this agreement does is it allows trade between these two countries, and the trade doesn't have to be converted to dollars first. They can use their own currencies. Now, personally, I don't think that the yuan or the real or anything else right now is going to quickly overtake the dollar. But what I do believe is ultimately what we need is a currency backed by real assets. That's what's going to prevail in the long run. Now, again, this is not getting enough media attention. And when it actually does, and they bring on an expert, they come on and say, oh, the dollar is just so huge, it can never be overtaken. It's just going to take so long. And just to be clear, I don't think quickly this is going to be something that happens quickly. I think it's going to take quite a long time. Now, And the reason I do think that this is going to happen, though, there's a few reasons. So let me start out with the non-financial ones. So first is American attitudes and just values. And we saw a poll come out this week in the Wall Street Journal. Got a lot of attention. If you haven't seen it, go in, read it, and it's very surprising. And essentially, what it says is patriotism in this country, it's plummeted since the last time they did the poll 20 years ago. Importance of religion dropped drastically as well. Hard work, rapid decrease. The only thing that really remained the same was the importance of making money. Um, Now, what's interesting, of course, is that hard work, that the importance of hard work dropped, but the importance of having money, um, that stayed the same, which is kind of funny. And again, none of it's really a surprise with what we know, with what we see in this country. Um, but for me, what really kind of highlighted this poll was, if we had better culture and better values, I think we may be able to work ourselves out of something like this. See, as bad as things have gotten, as a country, we've always found ways to adapt. And we found ways to innovate and produce, but it's simply not the case anymore. We import way too much stuff. China sends us all their cheap stuff, and we've been relying for way too long um, on other countries to hold dollars to keep us strong. So yes, a strong culture is going to lead to a naturally strong economy. So if we had the strong culture, strong work ethic, small businesses were thriving, I would think that we would be able to keep our status and really prevail here somehow in the end. Of course, we'd have to stop printing money like crazy, but ultimately, from the bottom up, I think it would drive the right type of changes here and let us maintain our status quo, at least for the most part. Um, so more on the financial side, and again, I touched on the BRICS earlier. It's definitely happening. More and more countries are looking to join it. I think it's going to be a little bit of a slower process than a lot of people expect, but I definitely could be wrong about that. And our leaders got to start thinking differently about this. They got to start talking about it, start coming up with plans. Um, right now, about 58% of trade settles in dollars, but geopolitical tension is going to push that number further and further down and quicker and quicker. And again, this isn't going to be an overnight process, but something that's going to take time. Uh, and inflation can get really bad in this country once those dollars, the demand just sinks on that. And unlike one thing we really have to think about here is that unlike you know how our tools for dealing with inflation are typically that the Fed goes out, they raise interest rates, other countries flock to dollars because it's viewed as a safe haven. So if we start getting lots of inflation, the Fed's going to really have no tools here to go in and deal with it, because if they're raising interest rates and no one actually wants the dollar, then there's really not there's nothing that we're going to be able to do. Now, what's another thing we have to kind of think about, again, is a war and what that can happen. And I have a kind of a different take on what China has been doing, really. And what I kind of think that they've been doing a little bit is they've been kind of sitting on the sidelines. They've been kind of waiting to see if we fall into a conflict, if we fall into anything before they make their big push into having the yuan overtake the dollar. And it's kind of reminiscence about what we did with Bretton Woods, in terms of Europe was devastated after World War II, and then we were able to come in and we were strong as a country and we became the reserve currency because we had that strength, whereas everyone else was rebuilding. So they may be kind of waiting for us to go in and to be spending tons of money, or for something, for us to go to war or something before they go in and take that step. So that's all I've got for today. Appreciate any thoughts on this. Always like hearing people's feedback. Um, please like the video. Please share. It helps share it. Comment and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Helps the channel out. Thanks a lot.